Version 9.3 came out this morning for today's update. Now guys, let me tell you, this update has a lot of information, but at the same time, it is one of the best updates we've seen in a long time. Now guys, we're gonna just jump right into it. So basically, first off, we have different LTMs ranging from sniper shootout duos, so obviously sniper rifles only, and then we have trios, which is just the classic battle royale but with 3-person squads, and solid gold squads as well, so fight to the finish using legendary weapons. So moving on to the brand new quote-unquote weapon of this update is called the CHUG Splash. So on impact, this thrown item splashes liquid in a small area. All players within the splash radius will be instantly granted 20 health per shield. So this grants health unless you are full health, in which case it will grant shields, kind of the same way the slurp juice works, although at the same time, this Chug Splash item also can heal allies, enemies, and it can also extend the duration of the knocked state for a knocked player, which is actually very interesting to comprehend if you think about that kind of late game or toward the beginning stages to late game. So in terms of a player going down, throw one of these Chug Splashes if you're still fighting the enemies, and give your downed ally some extra time to be alive and actually crawl around to hopefully get revived in the near future. Very interesting. So it will come in rare variants, it drops in stacks of 2, and you can have the max stack of 6, with the Chug Splash being found in floor loot, chests, vending machines, supply drops, and llamas. Now, that's very interesting. I want to see how this kind of plays into effect in the arena mode, let alone the actual World Cup that is coming up within the next month, actually. But either way, that'd be very interesting when you have 30, 40 people in the end circle and someone throws a Chug Splash and everyone, even the enemies around him, gets the extra health. I want to see how that kind of plays into effect with that. Moving on, we are talking about the shotgun swap delay, which they actually removed. So shotgun cooldown now only applies when the player is carrying multiple shotguns, regardless of the shotgun type. So they mentioned, quote, "This is a quality of life change to prevent the swap delay system from interfering with players who do not have multiple shotguns in their inventory. As with all changes, we'll be keeping a close eye on this and make adjustments if necessary." So this was something big back when the pump shotgun was still out in Fortnite and it was still dominating the combat scene, especially close quarter. They went ahead and added a shotgun swap delay to prevent the double pump and even the triple pump too as well. But either way, they actually removed this now that the pump shotgun is out of the game and that the combat shotgun has a very high rate of fire as well as attack shotgun as well. So we'll see as new shotguns are being rumored as well as being added back into the game. We'll see how the shotgun swap delay is either implemented again or in some way, shape, or form edited. So moving on, speaking of the combat shotgun, they actually reduced the combat shotgun's long range effectiveness, so reduced the damage at medium distance by 10%. So it went from 2.4 tiles to 4.8 tiles. They reduced the damage at long distance by 20%, so 4.8 tiles to 9.76 tiles. Very interesting in my opinion. The combat shotgun's accuracy uniquely enables players to hit shots from longer distances compared to other shotguns. However, the damage at those longer ranges was a little higher than desired. We see constantly all these people hitting flick shots, hitting these like almost snipes with the combat shotgun on people that are gliding, people that are jumping on vehicles, whatever it may be. Now, this one is huge. So they went ahead and they vaulted the following: the boom bow, the dual pistols, and dynamite. So we saw the boom bows actually vaulted in the LTM Team Rumble last week. Now that was almost a surprise, so we kind of saw this one coming in a sense, but to get rid of 2 explosives and the dual pistols, very interesting. Epic Games says this about the following: they said that these vaults are primarily targeted at adjusting the availability of explosives, putting them more in line with where we think they should be. So maybe too many people were using explosives, and maybe people were using explosives in the wrong way and not the desired way of Fortnite and how Epic Games wanted it to be. But either way, all 3 of those are vaulted for the time being, so we will see if those are implemented again, if they are added back. But either way, those are very big weapons that are vaulted. We're not talking about the silenced pistol Those are big pieces of equipment and weapons. So I want to see the community's feedback as that becomes more apparent in actual pub game. They went ahead and also removed the ability to ride proximity grenade launch projectiles. So basically, they also mentioned that the rocket ride is still available. You can also rocket ride grenade launchers, although it is very tough. But they wanted to go ahead and with the fast level of traveling of the projectile from the proximity grenade launcher, they didn't want players to exploit that to the point where players are zooming around the map on these brand new proximity grenade launchers. So just a small little tweak there, nothing too big. But they did add a short delay to start damaging players from the storm flip on entry to mimic normal storm gameplay, so that's pretty cool. Added storm flip to audio visualizer when it is activated, so now if you do have your audio visualizers on screen, you will see when the storm flip does start to expand. Toys no longer will show up in the elimination feed on Starter Island, boo-hoo. Bug fixes and adjustments. Players could shoot immediately after using a Rift to go, which we actually have seen a lot of in the World Cup qualifiers, as well as the Pro-Am, and a lot of the professionals are starting to get that down, so now I'm kind of glad to see that Rift to go not being able to be an active way to get people out of a 1x1 or turtle egg situation and used in an exploitive way. So supply drums would sometimes spawn underground in areas with water, so that is fixed. Adjusted the areas around the reboot van that players could build to prevent the placements of floors and traps under the van. And the proximity grenade launcher was auto-reloading while aiming down sights, which is not what they wanted, so they went ahead and actually mimicked a sniper basically reload. So basically it would reload once unscoping or after the next attempt to fire with an empty magazine. So they adjusted the time for the effects of a consumable to help situations where players would switch away from the consumable before it finished activating. Reboot cards will no longer fall to the ground, they will remain where they spawn, which is actually the usual way that a reboot card would act, although there have been some glitches and some bugs that would have the reboot card fall to the floor. Campfires could block explosion damage at specific angles. Shadow Bomb double jump ability could be activated while under the effect of a Boogie Bomb. Boogie Bomb effects would continue playing on players while they were skydiving. Players that had a Rift to go used on them at the same time they were being rebooted would sometimes not be put into a skydiving state, hence taking fall damage, and that would not be good. Storm Flip would also deal incorrect damage if two were overlapping on each other. Storm Flips were able to stop a supply drop from falling. Weapons were showing while using emotes while on a driftboard. Moving on, gameplay. This is a big thing. So they added the hold to swap feature as now an option versus just as a default. So right now it is defaulting as off. So if you guys did like the hold to swap feature in terms of if you have a weapon in your inventory and you want to switch directly with a weapon on the floor, all you have to do is hold down X, hold down square, hold down pickup and that interact button on keyboard. And if you hold it down long enough, it'll just automatically swap it out for the weapon that you have out, versus having to pick up the weapon, go into your inventory, and then drop the weapon that you want to drop. So, with that being said, that is now defaulted as off, so make sure you guys do log back in, switch that setting back to on, so that way it now works like normal. So they made the 4-byte pressure plate northwest of the block easier to complete. If you guys don't know the 4-byte that I'm talking about, there will be a link in the description to the specific one that we are talking about right now. So slipstreams now fade out the visual effects and play audio cues to warn that they are shutting off before the collision and forces are disabled. This way, this gives the players some more advanced warnings before they're stuck on the sky bases and then have to either glide off or jump pad off, etc, etc. So they added storm flip color switch effects depending on the storm intersection point, which is very cool because if you have 3 or 4 of these storm flips activated at the same time, it will cause some colors and some dysfunction, and it's just a mess. So they also went ahead and they fixed the fact that skydiving from the bus toward a slipstream was not auto-deploying gliders at the correct height. Storm Surge was not activating in Phase 8. Players' health could be improperly rounded when receiving damage. The health bar for structures could disappear when hitting a wall and swapping to build mode, and the lava was dealing more damage to players than intended. So with that being said, we're moving on to performance, and the main thing here is just that they added a bunch of general optimization for audio visual indicators. That's all we really need to know for performance. Moving down to audio, what we need to do is look at the improvements to the grenade launcher and the grenade fuse sounds. So now they added a close range fuse loop that is attended based on damage radius. So sound ramps up as the projectile gets closer or to exploding. If you hear this, you're going to take damage unless you block the explosion, which is very cool with other builds or you walk through a door, whatever it may be. They lowered the volume of vehicles in a slipstream that doesn't have a driver or passenger on it, which is also very cool. They increased the range of the enemy 1x1 pickaxe impact sound from 1 tile to 1.5 tiles. Not huge there, but at least you can understand what's going on in the room next to you if you're in a busy, heavy density located place such as Tilted Towers or Mega Mall, Pleasant Park, whatever it may be. So they fixed an issue with audio device hot swapping when switching between outputs. The Victory Royale sound no longer gets affected by slow motion effect when a match is won. The combat shotgun had the wrong fire sound when you are playing on Switch or mobile, and a bunch of just different various sound bug fixes. So for example, the footstep audio for the Take the Elf emote wasn't playing. So again, small little tweaks like that, nothing big. So UI wise, hiding the vehicle health bar that appears above a vehicle if you are the player operating the vehicle to avoid 2 vehicle health bars being displayed. That's very redundant, very simple as to why they fixed that. Replays, scrubbing a replay could cause the unique font color of golden points of interest to disappear, so that's very interesting as well if you do want to go back into replays and figure that out. Now mobile, there's a bunch of just simple mobile fixes they fixed, so if you guys do want to see what that is talking about, in the description down below, I will leave all the patch notes as well as a link to all the patch notes so that way you guys can look at the creative as well as save the world patch notes. I'll see you guys later. Top box is that previous video as always, which is actually a Fortnite location, and that bottom box is a mystery video like always. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.